Imagine this. You have started a brand new company, DreamCorp. Everything is going great. Later, you hire an employee named Ram who logs his working hours using a simple text file. As your team grows, you bring in two more employees, Shyam and Ghanshyam. Shyam uses Excel and Ghanshyam uses a personal notepad to log their timesheet. Now, suppose you need to gather everyone's daily working hours. What kind of challenges do you think you will face? Can you guess? If not, don't worry. In this video, we will explore the problems this scenario creates and the solutions to overcome them. Hello friends, welcome to our Mastering Design Patterns series. Today is lesson 2. We are diving into a widely used Singleton Design Pattern. We will learn what it is, why we need it, and how to implement it in the code. I promise you will learn a lot in this series. So, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. And if you find this video helpful, share it with your friends as well. Without further ado, let's get started. So, in the scenario we just discussed, can you point out the challenges we might face while logging with multiple logging methods for the same task? Here are some of the major problems. Number 1, retrieving the data is difficult since the logs are scattered across multiple files. Number 2, each employee logs their hours in a different format, making it hard to consolidate the data. And number 3, resources are wasted because we are using different tools for the same task. Right? So, what could be the possible solution? Can you think about it? The root problem here is that we are using multiple files for logging the same kind of data. What if instead we created a shared file that everyone could use? This would instantly solve all the issues we just discussed. Issue 1, multiple files. Solved. Now there's just one file. Issue 2, different formats. Solved. Now a standardized format will be used for all entries. And issue 3, wasting resources. This is also solved. Why? Because everyone now logs in the same place. So this is the essence of Singleton pattern. Now let's understand it from a technical perspective. What is a Singleton pattern? The Singleton pattern is one of the most commonly used design pattern and falls under the creational design pattern group. It helps with object creation by ensuring that a class has only one instance and provides global access to that instance. So how it works? Number 1, single instance. It ensures that only one instance or object of the class is created. And number 2, global access point. It provides a controlled access point to interact with single instance. In our timesheet scenario, we previously had 3 separate logger objects, one for each employee. But with Singleton pattern, we will have only one shared logger class with 2 key responsibilities. Number 1, creating a single instance or object. And number 2, providing a global access to access that instance, allowing all the employees to log their hours. So these are the 2 main responsibilities of a Singleton class. When done correctly, the Singleton pattern ensures consistent behavior. This means that since there's only one logger, all entries are logged in the same file with a consistent format. Now that we have understood the concept, let's dive into how we can implement the Singleton pattern in 5 simple steps. Number 1, seal the class. Prevent other class from inheriting it. This ensures that no one can inherit and accidentally create multiple instances. Number 2, add a private constructor. This prevents other classes from creating new instances of the Singleton class. Number 3, create a private static read-only instance variable. This will hold the single instance of the class. Number 4, implement public static method for object retrieval. And number 5, add any public methods you want the outside world to access. Now, let's look at a practical code example in Visual Studio to understand this concept clearly. Okay, so now let's understand the problem that we discussed in code level. Right now, we have 3 employees. Each of them are logging their timesheet in different files. So for that, I have created one employee timesheet class and one simple method log timesheet. This method is taking the employee name and current working hours, and then it is creating a CSV file for each of the employee. So when I will run this program, you will get to know that 3 CSV files have been created. Let me show you in the bin folder. So here 3 timesheets are created and each of them are logging their hours in a separate sheet. See, for Shyam, this is for Ram, and this is for Ghanshyam. Now the problem with this approach is, if we want to know the time of all of them for that particular day, we have to open each of them and then create a separate sheet and put all the working hours in that sheet. Instead of that, what we should have is a shared file which should have the name and working hour of that particular person. So how should we do that? That we are going to discuss now. The solution for that is to implement a Singleton class. This class will have these 5 steps in it, making it a Singleton class. Now let's create a Singleton class based out of these steps. So for that, I will create a shared timesheet class. So here I will just rename it to shared timesheet. I am not changing this code so that we get to know what is the difference between both of them. So here I have created this class. If you want to move it into the separate file, you can go here, right click and go to quick actions, and here we will move it to a separate file. Now we have a separate file. This class is currently not Singleton. This is a normal class. So we will be able to create the object of this class in the outside world in the similar way we created for timesheet class. So now I will create the object of this class. So this is not a Singleton class. Now we have to make this class Singleton. For that, the 5 steps are, these are the 5 steps, and these steps we will implement in the code. Now the first step, what is the first step? The first step is to make the class sealed. For that, we have a sealed keyword in C#. The next step is to create a private constructor. So let's create a private parameterless constructor. Step 3 is to create an instance variable, private instance variable, which will hold the object. So for that, I will create a private instance variable which will be static. Please note that. Static. Let me create an instance variable. This is step 3. For now, I will create the object here itself. Later on, we will optimize this code also. Now, step 4 is to give access to this instance to the outside world. For that, we will create a method. That method will have this instance. Okay. So now let's create a method that will also be a static method, which will return shared timesheet instance. And for now, I will create a method. But you can also create a property. So for method, let me name it a get instance. Here, I will return the instance. So with this, now the last step is to create the method. This method will be accessible to the outside world. Now, we have to make some changes so that only one shared timesheet is created. For that, what we will do is, we will create the timesheet in constructor. Why? Because constructor will be called only once. So here, I will create the file. Let me name this file shared timesheet. I will move this up so that it can be accessible from outside also. Now here I am creating the file and I will write the first line as the header line. So what could be the header? In our case, we want employee name and hours worked. So I will write here employee name and hours worked. Okay, please note, comma will come here. One more thing I will do is I will check if the file is exists, then don't again create the file. So for that, I will just keep a not exist condition, then only create the file. And here, we don't have to change anything else. Here we can directly use the file name since we have that outside. Okay. With this 5 simple steps, our class has now become a singleton class. Which are those steps? Let me quickly revise. Step 1 is to make the class sealed. Step 2 is to create a private constructor. Step 3 is to create a private static variable which will hold the instance, which will create the instance of that class. Step 4 is to give a static method for outside world this instance. And step 5 and others are the actual methods that you want to call from outside. So now I can use that. For using, let me again create an instance of shared. Let me give it a name employee 1. And for accessing it, now we will access it via that method which we created, get instance. Okay. So now we have the instance of that employee class. Now if I call that method, I get that method also. Here I can pass the name of the employee and the working hours. Similarly, I will create 2 other employees. Let me give the name same only, Shyam, and for employee 3, again I will give Ghanshyam. Okay, let's give the hours also. So now if you notice here, we are not creating the object here, we are asking this class to give us the object. So first time it will give this object, it will create also. This line will be executed only once in the lifetime of running that application. And this also will be executed only one time. So step 2 and 3 will be executed one time only, but for the next time, we will get the same instance again and again. So let me now run this code again and let's see what's the difference. We should have only one Excel sheet or CSV file. Right now we are using, for simplicity, we are using CSV file only, but you can understand that this can be converted to Excel also. So now we have a shared timesheet file. If I will open this, and bingo, we have got the employee names and the hours they worked in one shared file itself. We achieved this by using these 5 steps. We now have a solution where all employees log their hours in a single shared file. However, there are still some problems to address. Number 1, what happens if multiple employees log their hours simultaneously? And number 2, we are using eager loading, meaning the object is created as soon as the application starts. How can we ensure that the object or instance is only created when needed? We will address these 2 issues in our next video. Now it's time for exercise. Answer the following questions correctly. Number 1, what is the main purpose of Singleton pattern? To allow multiple instances of a class, to ensure only one instance of the class exists, or to create a new instance every time. Number 2, how is the instance of a Singleton class typically accessed? By creating a new object using the new keyword, by directly accessing the class constructor, or by calling a static method or property of the Singleton class. And number 3, how do we prevent object creation from outside the class? By adding a private constructor, by adding a public constructor, or by adding a public static method. Pause the video, solve the exercise, and message your answers in the comment. I will be waiting for your reply. I hope you would have given the correct answers. And to know my answer, please check the description of the video. Now, let's quickly revise what we have learned in this lesson. Number 1, the Singleton pattern is a creational design pattern. Number 2, it solves the problem of needing a single object of a class. Number 3, it ensures a class has only one instance and provides global access to that instance. Number 4, there are 5 steps to implement a Singleton design pattern. And number 5, multi-threading scenarios must be handled while implementing Singleton classes, which we will cover in our next video. Be sure to check out the links in the description for more videos on design patterns. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions, please message in the comments. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye.